and create all kind of stories. They were trying to bring up a time when I was like in 2008, 15 years ago. I was with somebody who was like 3 years younger than me at the time. And as they do these things with teenager now, they try to be like, oh, but I remember 15 years ago you dated somebody 3 years ago. 15 years ago you dated somebody 3 years younger than you. Some things they try to it is just retardations of, because the reality, they create false reality and then paint some narratives and stories that are just nonsensicalness. But one thing they try to make it seem like, oh, this person, man, she was, you've done these bad things to her. No, like, she was not even that. It's like she escaped you. She it was, she went through, she was traumatized or whatever. It's BS story. Reality is, I remember when I was breaking up with her, it was kind of like, oh, okay, whatever. During that short time, it's not like we didn't have like a best time, but it was not like anything too memorable. We didn't go on a lot of dates. A lot of time we were just like, being intimate. But we didn't spend time outside of that. We didn't do a lot of things like going on dates and things like that. It was kind of like, it was not a lot of eventful. Every once in a while we would drive somewhere, but it was just rarely happening. So when it ended, it's like, oh my gosh, it was okay, whatever. I remember she was laughing at me because she didn't know I was this goofy, and I think I made like a noise, and she was like, what was that? And it was like kind of like a high pitched noise, and I had to pretend it was my sister, and she's like, oh, what the hell was that? That's what she said. But anyways, just to show that, let's just say that it was not somebody who was intimidated by me. I did not, like, she didn't see me. I was like, oh, this scared me. Like, if anything, I was like, okay, it's over, whatever. But during that short time, we had a few scares, right? We had like a pregnancy scare, not a pregnancy scare, but she was late, and we like were scared for a second that, oh, maybe she could be pregnant, but she wasn't. And then after that, we didn't really learn our lesson. We ended up having some a moment with no protection. No moment, but we had a moment. They're so disgusting. We had we had unprotected sex, and after that, she was kind of mad because she was like, we just went through this thing, so we should be careful, right? Which, of course, that was true, but we were careless at the time, and I think there was anyways, my point is, now they try to create a story. It's like, oh, but you put a protection in it, you remove the protection, and she didn't know that. It's like they come up with different reality of stories, when in reality it was simple. We were in the mood, and I don't remember if we tried to put protection, but at the end kind of like got rid of it or did not do it, and everything, we're all both aware of that, but we got ourselves carried and did not think about protection, or we did not have protection at the time, and we're both in the know, even though it was not the smart thing to do, is what happened. But the way they try to create stories like, oh, she thought all along you had protection, but and then she found out at the end, there's like some new stories that they come up with, and try to take different stories and try to mix in together, when it's not the reality. We're both aware there was no protection utilized here. It was not smart, but it was, and I think at that point I should have been more responsible. But that's what happened, right? Thankfully, of course, nobody got pregnant. Nobody, and it never ended like that. Nobody ever had a child, and that's that. But the way they come up with stories, right? This picture you're seeing here is me talking to her friend a year later. I mean, mind you, I was much younger. I was in my early 20s, and I started talking to her friend, her close friend. I think at the time was her best friend. And you can see her asking her, hey, I hope that this person said good things about me. And she laughed, like, she's like, yeah, mostly good stuff, because that was that. It was not too eventful. We had some scares, but really beside that, it was nothing really going on too much. But the way they try to come up with stories, try to make up things and try to create different stories, reality is like what they can create. And you can see the time, like 2009, you understand? That's what, 14 years. That's, like that. That's the kind of things they're here creating and manipulating stories of. It's crazy, but this is the things that I'm dealing with when it comes to the manipulation of my mind. It's the things that they create and try to create the scenarios and ways. And because we know that memories are easily manipulated, they have this ability to reform, as one may say, memories, create new version of memories with whatever they want. And I have no way to stop that. I just have to deal with this.